Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be interviewing a stand-up comedian who has a very interesting podcast. She has this podcast called Happy Endings where she will talk to somebody and massage them at the same time. Her name is Joy Eileen, and I'm having her on the podcast today to talk about how she came up with that interesting idea. It's a very interesting idea, how she came up with it and how she got to the Comedy Store and a bunch of other things. And I think it's going to be a pretty interesting interview and stuff. I think she's around my age, maybe younger and stuff. I've heard her on other podcasts, and she seems pretty interesting. The key word for this show is interesting, because that's what it is. Interesting. Things in life are interesting. So, here is my interview with Joy Eileen. Hi, Joy.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for taking the time today.
No problem. So I'm hiding in my room. We'll see how long that lasts.
Hoping it'll last at least 30 minutes.
Okay.
So, a few weeks ago, I discovered your podcast after my friend Cynthia Levin was on, and I thought how interesting it was. And then I saw you on Leanne Kreischer's podcast, and I thought, I got to get this girl on my podcast.
It was kind of a whirlwind when all that started happening. The podcast has only been going for, I think, 4 months now, and it's been a crazy journey already.
Mm-hmm. So did you know early on that you wanted to do stand-up comedy?
I didn't know stand-up. All I knew is that anytime there was a microphone, I was going to touch it, to the point where even when we were in funerals and, somebody was like, would anybody like to get up and say something? My ass would always be the first one getting up and being like, blah, 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 and trying to make the funeral people in attendance laugh. And my mom and dad were just like, okay, this is our daughter. And then my high school graduation, I decided, I found out there was going to be a microphone. So I told the principal, I was like, I want to do a speech. And he's like, who the fuck are you? And I'm like, hi, I'm Joy. And he's like, I can't just give you time without a speech. So I went home and I wrote a speech, and then I gave it to him. And he's like, fine, I'll give you 3 minutes. And I got 3 minutes before our high school president, who was pissed. And so, anytime I saw a microphone, and then my husband and I started going to the Comedy Store, and I fell in love. I'm like, oh, this is a way you can hold a microphone and make people laugh. And so it kind of just snowballed from there.
Yeah. Were you and your family members, always funny?
I think so. I mean, we were always kind of goofy. There was a lot of us, because my mom's side of the family, it was 7 girls, 2 boys. So I had 6 aunts, 2 uncles, and a shit ton of cousins. So we were always just goofy as hell, because there was just so many of us. There's not much else you can do besides family drama, but and they're really good at that too. So, and I was always the goofy looking one, so I kind of I always reverted to comedy.
Mm-hmm. Who did you watch growing up?
I kind of watched everything. I loved old movies. I loved laughing. I would always take the lines in any movie that made me laugh, and I would somehow try and revert those into everyday conversation, which didn't work most of the time. Like I said, awkward kid. But, I really enjoyed, the laughter, and I loved, my thing was I would watch, instead of watching people on, the TV or anything like that, I would watch the audience and see how they were getting the reaction. And I would always try and figure out, how did they get that laugh?
Mm-hmm.
What makes that person laugh? Almost like my dad and my brother, fart jokes. And so I would just be like, okay, this is what they want. So.
Yeah, I did that too. I used to insert that into conversations too in school, and just everyone thought I was weird. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I used to, um, dress up as my favorite actors and comedians around the house after dinner and stuff when I was a kid. I did that for years, and that's what got me ready and stuff. So,
Yeah, see,
oh, go ahead.
I would try. I see my dad was a little strict, though, because I wanted to dye my hair orange and wear tutus like Cyndi Lauper, and my dad wouldn't let me, and that hurt.
Hmm.
Now I own more tutus than a grown adult woman should.
Who did you like? Who were your influences?
Well, I love George Carlin because I'm also, I know I mentioned it on Leanne's podcast, I'm an independent author, so I write romance books.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, words are amazing. And so just watching George Carlin and just his economy of words were just so good. And my mom loved Roseanne back then.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like whatever my parents liked, I ended up having to watch. But now I'm really into the crowd working comics. I haven't tried it yet because, but I love the comics that just come off the cuff because I feel that's more me, and that's kind of how the massage podcast came about. Is just massaging, and organically shit will come out, and that's So like Rick Ingram, he's a comic at the Comedy Store. He is my absolute favorite. And Harlan Williams, he was at the Comedy Store the other night, and he is so good.
Yep.
Amazingly good.
Yep. They're all good. George Carlin, I was on a radio show with his brother about 4 years ago, and that was amazing. It was just amazing talking to him about his brother and stuff.
Oh, I bet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was an influence of mine too. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Madera, California, which nobody knows where that is. So I always say Fresno, because when we would go to town, that's town. And I actually went to Fresno State, so I'm from the middle of the California area.
Yeah, one of my best friends' ex-girlfriends is from Fresno. She wears it like a badge of honor.
Oh gosh. Yeah, everybody, it's funny because you watch all these comedians and you just hear them, and Fresno is their like go-to shithole, and I'm like, yeah, I'm from there.
Yeah, I've never been there, but I've heard it's not that thrilling.
It's nothing special. I don't understand. Like, I have a couple cousins that are still there, and they act all hoity-toity, and it cracks me up. Well, really? You guys, it's Fresno. Come on. Get over yourselves.
Yeah. Did you go to college? I will
say, though, the Fresno State campus was gorgeous. So they had that going for them.
Mm-hmm. You went to Fresno State?
I did until I met a guy online and dropped out of college and moved to Texas. But I was there for a while.
Wow. And did you study massage therapy in college?
No, I was actually going for physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I was that weird straight A student, graduated with pretty big numbers, and so I was going to Fresno State, and I was doing physical therapy because I've always been interested in the human body, and I thought when I was younger, I was like, oh, you can teach somebody how to walk again, so you're almost like the second mom. And, ooh, people will love me because, I don't know, as a comic, I think I just strive to have everyone love me and, or just at least notice who I am. And so I was like, ooh, I'll be their second mom and I'll teach them how to walk. And then, so I started doing physical therapy or trying, just doing my general. And then I moved to Texas and I was still doing my general. And then I moved back to California and started still doing my general stuff. And then physical therapy kind of changed from a master's to a PhD. And I took a while off because I got pregnant. And I was like, oh, I'll just go to massage school and do that for a while and then go back to school. And yeah, that was 2 kids later. So it didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, one of my best friends is a massage therapist, but he does it for the wrong reason. He does it for drug money.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he kept
He
that.
was shaky massage therapist. Ugh.
He kept that secret from me for a long time. I'll tell you.
I guess it depends on what kind of drug, because if you get on like the ecstasy or the Molly, just touching people would be like, oh, this smells so good. The client's like, how long has this massage? It's been going on for 4 hours.
It's marijuana and crank, mainly.
Oh, shit. See, no, that would be a crazy massage, somebody on crank.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It just drives me crazy. So when did you move to L.A.?
I moved here 14 years ago.
14 years ago. Wow. So let's talk about the Comedy Store. I mean, I love that place.
My favorite place in the world, and I got a job there. I got an in. I started working there at the end of September, delivering food. That's all I do. I don't even talk, because I'm not even a server. I don't even take orders. I just, here's your chicken tender, and then I like back away like a troll. Just like, don't look at me, just eat your food. So, yeah, it is my favorite place. And the fact that I get to work there and I've got to go up on the stage a couple times is just, it's still surreal. It doesn't feel like it's possible.
Yeah. How long have you been working there?
At the end of September, I started working there, so not that long.
Just recent. Wow. Yeah, I went there 3 years ago for the first time, and I grew up watching the True Hollywood Story and hearing about the place and stuff, and it's always been a mythic presence in my life. And then to actually be there was just crazy, because the first time I got there, I went to LA for 8 days. I wanted to try to get stage time at all the clubs, and I didn't know how the system worked. And this was just a few months before the Comedy Store podcast started, so I didn't know that Mitzi was sick. I didn't know that the system had changed and everything. So I go. I'm one of 75 people who sign up. I don't get on. I go in there into the OR, and I feel the presence of dead comedians there. It had this just ominous quality about it that I had always heard about, and I felt so comfortable there, like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, like I'd always been there.
Right.
It was just a really good feeling, and just, I've interviewed so many great comics who were there in the 70s and 80s, and they told me just, how insane that place was back then. And it was like the Studio 54 of Hollywood. It was a cocaine house.
It was. In the green room, in the main room, green room, there's this like mirrored piano table. Because I get to massage, I do the chair massage in Josh Adam Meyer's show, The Shimmy Shimmy Ya. So I get to go in the green room and massage these comics and try and network. And there's just it's a mirrored piano. It has a crack in the middle of it. I mean, some of the parts are falling off on the side of it. And it's been there since like Pryor and Kinnison. And just the amount of cocaine on that table is probably just insane.
Oh my God, yeah. And those headshots on the wall are just fucking spooky to me.
See, I walked in and I was like, home. I'm home. I haven't had home. I think I walked in because I didn't do comedy for a while, but we just go and watch, and it just kept getting further and further in my skin. And, just seeing all those headshots, I was like, yeah, I want to be there. And I think Mark Maron says something about, like, calling it the Hall of Sadness or something.
Yeah.
All the headshots.
You see all these famous comics when they were young, and then you see all these comics that you never heard of, and you wonder what the hell happened to them. There's something frightening about that.
It's kind of cool, though, especially like when the Comedy Store podcast brings on one of those unknowns. You're like, who the fuck is that? And then they start telling stories, and it's normally about the good old days at the Comedy Store, and you're like, oh shit, I wish I could have been there.
Oh yeah, I mean, so far they've had everybody that I knew who they were and stuff from stories. Like a couple of weeks ago, they had Mike Becker, who was Mitzi's assistant back in the day. I knew about him for a long time. There was a waitress there in the early 80s named Lori Jacobson, who I've interviewed because she's a writer. And she told me a lot of great stories about that place. Oh, my God. She told me Gilbert Gottfried was fucking pathetic when it came to hitting on waitresses.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It was so damn funny. There was this one comic that was there named Mike Binder, and she told me she saw him fuck some waitress on the OR stairway one time.
Oh my God! Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. There are times you're just like, this is a petri dish of STDs I'm walking into right now.
That's the best way to put it. Oh my God.
And I don't know if it's just because we're there all the time. And I mean, you're there till like 2, 3 in the morning, and if Chappelle shows up, God only knows how long you're going to be there. And so it's very incestuous there. So all of them are just kind of fucking each other and then going to the next person and the next person. It's kind of, it's very incestuous. Comedy Store High.
Yeah, oh my God. That night, too, that I didn't get on, I only watched for about maybe 15 minutes, and then I got hella depressed and left. And then I found out on Facebook that Chappelle showed up, and I was like, oh, damn, I would have loved to have seen him,
Yeah, I've seen him a couple times. I haven't got to talk to him. I got to massage Neil Brennan, so like 1 degree of separation right there. But he comes in and he just sits, and you're just like, the only time I got to talk to Chappelle is I was in the audience, and he was asking all the women, he was like, do you guys have any cigarettes? And all these women were running around like just giving him cigarettes. And then he's all, anybody want to give me a blowjob? And he looked straight at me, and I was like, okay. And I just shook my head because I was sitting right next to my husband. My husband's like, go do it. It's okay. No. And at the end, he walked by and he grabbed my shoulder and he squeezed. And he's like, thanks for playing along. And I'm like, I didn't play along that far, but okay. So that was my Chappelle story.
Wow, he must have a huge cock, too.
Oh, I know. It's got to be.
Yeah.
But he's married. I don't know if he has one of those, like, pacts with his wife that, hey, when I'm traveling, this dick ain't yours. Like, I don't know. Or I don't know if he's still married, but I know he was then.
Yeah. And then, like, we went back that weekend, and we saw a lot of great comics on stage. Bill Burr showed up. He was great. Bobby Lee was great. Gerard Carmichael, when his show was still on, was there. And then
he's amazing.
Yeah. And then the next year, in September of 2017, we went back. We were in town, and we went back, and then saw Bobby Lee again. We saw Leslie Jones. She popped in. She wasn't even scheduled. She popped in at the very beginning, and she blew the place apart.
I've been there when Leslie Jones has popped in, and oh my God, I was dying. She was doing some bit about like how when you're in your 20s, you're not supposed to have clothes on because your 30s are when you start repenting. Oh my God, it was so funny.
Yeah. And then towards the end of the night, Jimmy Schubert came on, and oh God, he had the whole place in stitches. I mean, he was just hilarious. And I saw him later on, after he'd been on, I went to the bathroom, and I saw him in the hallway having a conversation with John Caponera, and I'm like, holy fuck, this is just insane.
It's surreal. It's crazy. Fun fact, Jimmy Schubert was the first person on Happy Endings with Joy Eileen to get naked.
Really?
He was the first one to get completely naked on the massage table. And then we call it the Schubert now. So a lot of comedians will leave like their underwear on, whatever. I've been massaging for almost 12 years. I've seen it all, unfortunately. And so Maz Dubrani was getting on the table, and he's all, should I take my underwear off? And I go, whatever you're comfortable with, I don't care. You're going to be, draped the whole time under the sheets. I'm all, but Jimmy Schubert got naked, and he goes, Schubert got naked? And I go, yeah, and next thing I know, he's like, turn around, I turn around, and you can just hear the underwear popping off. It's like, okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Bert Kreischer got naked, too, so.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Right?
Yeah. I love hearing, though, the stories about LA comedy in the 70s, whether it's about the Comedy Store or the Groundlings, because back then, they were at humble beginnings in a comedy revolution, and there was no predication towards making money like it is now. It was strictly for the art, and look at all the amazing people that came from it.
I completely agree with you 100%. And it's so cool that I get to still see Argus get up on stage, because he's that link from the past, and he is so funny. And I love watching the audience. Once again, I'm an audience watcher. I love watching the audience, because this old guy gets on stage and he's kind of goofy, and you can almost see them like taking him like, oh, whatever, we're not going to pay attention to him. And then he starts telling his jokes, and by the end of the night, or at the end of his set, he's got the whole audience just dying of laughing. He's so good. And I mean, he used to fuck Mitzi. Like, any server that he has fucked is an Eskimo sister with Mitzi, and that to me is just, that dick is amazing. Like, it needs to be shrined.
Yeah, he's been giving me the runaround about coming on the podcast. He talks about how every day he's writing jokes for his column and for his new show on YouTube and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, you're like the master by now. Put that aside for a little bit and just give me a half hour of your time.
I've been trying to get Argus on too. I'm like, come on. I've every once in a while when I see him, I'm like, hey, Argus, when am I going to write your book? And he's, oh, young lady. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm good at what I do. I've only done romance books, but I'm fucking good at what I do. And he'll just walk away and smile. And I'm like, I just want to sit down and write your book. You don't even pay me. Just let me have your stories.
Yeah.
Because I felt when Mitzi passed away, just all of those stories were lost. And Mitzi is my huge, I actually have a dog. You probably heard her barking in the background, and her name is Mitzi. And then I have a dog named Farley, too, after Chris Farley, only because he has a really big head. And so I love Mitzi. I mean, she made some bad mistakes in her life, and she did some things that weren't the greatest, but that's just human. So she's my biggest idol. Like, I've always said, when I grow up, I want to be the next Mitzi Shore.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't claim to be the greatest comic. I have a feeling, though, she would have liked me, because based on the stories I've heard, she liked comics who were weird and different and, had disabilities and stuff. I think she would have liked me.
I don't know. When she passed away, I remember looking at my husband and being like, I'll never know. I will never know if Mitzi would like me or not. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because if she would have been like, I don't like you, then I would have been devastated. But she didn't pass Gary Shandling forever. Like, he showcased for her many, many times, and she's like, you're not ready. And then, I mean, to the point where I don't know if you saw his documentary, the Gary Shandling documentary, but there's a letter where he writes to his parents, and he's like, Mitzi's a bitch.
Yeah.
And he was so mad at her. But she's the one that just kept pushing them. And she could spot talent, and I don't know. She was an amazing woman.
Yeah, I did see the documentary. I thought it was great. I loved it.
Yes, it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So how did Happy Endings come about?
Well, I'm not the most professional massage therapist. I've been working at the same chiropractor, like I said, July will be 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And my patients are kind of the same people. I don't really get a lot of new people. So I know their whole stories. They know my whole story. Like, they were with me when we were doing the custody battle with my husband's oldest son. Well, my oldest son, too. But we were trying to get him away from his crazy mom. So we had all these stories, and we would just laugh and have fun. And it's just so laughing in the stories. And some people would come in, and they would be upset and cry. And then I was doing comedy, and I couldn't, break into it. And I was trying to tell people,
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, what if I massage you? And then, of course, all these comics were like, wait, free massage, free massage. And it just kind of organically happened. And then when the podcast started, I was like, shit, why didn't I do this earlier? And then I don't remember who it was, but one of the bigger comedians, like, it wasn't time. You had to wait. And it just kind of came from there. And I'm like, a couple of the comedians are like, wait, you talk to me while I'm being massaged? I'm like, yep. And they're like, what if I fall asleep? And well, then I'm going to stick an elbow in your asshole. And they're like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think about that too, like why didn't I do what I'm doing now 10 years ago and stuff? I wasn't ready. I wasn't mature yet and stuff. It wasn't until I had my car accident 4 years ago that I decided that I had to pursue show business because I can't work a real job again and stuff. And this has been
Right.
This has been nothing but a blessing for me. I've only had, it'll be 2 years in May that I've been doing this podcast, and I got 350 episodes, already.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for you.
Ah, thank you. Actually, you're 352.
Ooh, look at me.
Yeah. I'm so blessed with everyone I've gotten. I've interviewed so many of my idols that most people don't even remember and stuff, but I've interviewed everybody, and it's just been amazing. And I'll see how far it goes and stuff, which brings me to my next point and stuff. I mean, your podcast is certainly different, and I like that because we live in an age now where you have the advantage to do all kinds of different podcasts. And I've noticed now that the podcast market is getting oversaturated. So many people are turning me down to come on because they're tired of talking about their careers. They write books, they do documentaries, and they can't do any interviews. Or they look at my numbers and go, "I'm not talking to this guy," and stuff. I mean, have you had anybody turn you down?
I've talked about it before. Jeff Ross, he was going to do it to the point where I even had his phone number. And then he was walking out, and I'm like, hey, I'll text message you, and we'll figure out a day. And he was like, you know what? I don't want to get Me Too'd. Never mind. And I don't want to get Me Too'd either. Tony Hinchcliffe, he's amazing. I've known Tony for quite some time because we go to Kill Tony every Monday. That's our date night, is me trying to get on stage because I'm a selfish wife. But Tony, he was like, I think he would have been like episode 7 maybe, and he's like, I don't really like doing the beginning episodes. He's all, but I will for you. But in the end, he ended up being, I don't know, I think episode like 22 anyway, and I have a bunch still recorded that I haven't even released. So, not really many. I have a couple people who don't like to be touched.
Yeah.
Like Frank Castillo, he's like, I'll be on your podcast, but I don't want a massage. And then Eleanor Kerrigan, she was like, I'll be on your podcast, but you're not going to massage me. I'm like, that's fine. I'll just tell you. And then Dom Herrera, he was like, I'll be on your podcast, and you can just tell me what you would be doing to me at the time. And I'm like, done. So I have a couple that I'm going to have to get creative with. But I also have the chair, so if they don't want to do the table, I have a chair, I have a detox machine. So I have different options, or hell, it would be kind of cool just to sit and just talk to Eleanor, because I fucking love Eleanor so much.
Yeah.
And I love Dom, so, and like Vicky Barbalak, she goes, you can massage my feet. And I'm like, fucking done. Like, whatever you guys want, just as long as I can talk to you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I got Eleanor is like my new favorite comic. I love listening to her on the Comedy Store podcast. I mean, she's just so hilarious. And I tried for a year to get her on this podcast and stuff. And then Cynthia said to me, forget it. Her career is booming now, And I'm like, yeah, but her and I would have so much fun talking and shit. And we'd be fucking laughing at sick stuff,
Right. Oh, she's amazing. She actually, I want to say like 2 years ago, on my birthday, because so my parents take my kids for a week during December and a week during July during my birthday, and for my birthday presents, they take my kids. And we were there at the Comedy Store, and it was before I even started working there. I was just starting comedy, all this new stuff, and I was like, "Hey, it's my birthday," and she took me down to the basement where they do the podcast, but it was before the basement. It's all pretty, and it was totally creepy. And there's like a pink couch there, and I think it's Doris Day. I may be wrong on that one, or yeah, I don't know. It's one of the older actresses. It's her couch, and Mitzi bought her apartment, and Polly wanted to move in, so this pink couch that's like this old, like, vintage Hollywood actress's couch is in the basement. Mm-hmm. And she took us around, and she showed us all of the Comedy Store, and she's like, "This is my friend Joy, and Joy writes books, and Joy's a comedian, and she's super funny." She had no idea what the fuck I did. And, yeah, she became my favorite, and then I had this, like, huge comic crush on Rick Ingram. He's just so good.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, you know, here's Rick," and I'm like, I can't talk to him because I have the biggest comic crush on him, so I have a hard time talking to him because I just idolize him so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a very funny guy, and he and I have actually bantered back and forth on Twitter a couple times. He even referenced me one time on the show. When Argus was on, Argus, you know, he's like the fourth comic I have heard take credit for the strike in '79, right? And I brought that up on Twitter, and Rick mentioned it the very next week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Didn't mention me by name, but he said somebody wrote on Twitter that Argus is the fourth guy to take credit for the strike, you know?
That's funny.
Yeah, I feel so great about that, though. So, how long do you think that you'll do the podcast for?
Probably as long as I can, because we're branching out now. So at first it was comics, because comics is, you know, all I have access to.
Right.
But I have a couple porn stars who want to do it.
Ooh.
I have a couple, I have a couple musicians that want to do it, and I have an old 80s hairband guy who I'm trying to find a time. It's just kind of difficult. And he was like, "Oh, I have stories from being on the road," and I'm like, "Oh, fuck, yes, please." So it's not going to be just comics, and I have a late night talk show host that we've been kind of flirting back and forth. Well, him and his assistant have been flirting back and forth, trying to get a time where I can massage him. So I kind of hope it goes for a while. I also did a live podcast where I was just in front of a live audience, and I had the chair instead of the table. And what I do is, if an audience member wanted to, they could put their name in a bucket, and I pulled their name out, and they would come, and they'd get on the chair, and it was me, and then Brian Simpson and Joe Dosh, who are fucking amazing comics, by the way.
Yeah.
Joe is just, oh my God, Joe's my hero. And we would do crowd work on this guy while I was massaging him. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, Joe was like, "Joy, this is kind of fucked up." And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "You basically invited me to watch you give a massage to someone else." And I'm like, that is kind of fucked up. So we got Joe on the chair, and then my producer Emily came up, and that's when everything clicked. So I'd really like it to become a live show, and almost like Kill Tony-esque. And so I've been talking to the lady who is in the belly room, and I've been talking to a couple other people with a couple other venues, and hoping to try and get that live. So I really want to expand it and maybe take it to festivals and just kind of see where it goes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would be great, especially the porn stars. Oh my God, you may even make a porn star come.
Oh, I know. You know how many questions? I was like, so many questions. So many questions.
Yeah. Oh, when I was 21, I got a hand job from Nina Hartley.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. She came to the Bay Area. We had this sex shop in the Bay Area called Jaybirds. It's still there. It's right across the street from a Jack in the Box. I remember when I was like in my preteens, my dad and I would be at the drive-through window, and we'd see all these perverts go in, and not knowing that I would actually become one of them, you know, when I got older.
Amazing.
Yeah, and she was doing this meet and greet there, and I was like the last guy to come in for the day and meet her, and I was like probably the only one that was an absolute gentleman to her. and she decided to reward me. She like let me go into the back room, and stuff. And wow, she was pretty thorough, I have to say.
That is fantastic.
Yes. Oh my God, I wear that like a badge of honor and stuff. And we still talk. We talk on Twitter and stuff. And she doesn't really interact with her fans, but she makes an exception for me.
Oh, I see you're her exception. Aw.
Yeah. And I'm trying to get her on the podcast, but she's extremely busy, I tell you.
Yes, they are busy. They film a lot too, so.
Mm-hmm. We'll see though. Hopefully, I'll get her on.
I'll keep my legs crossed for you.
It's too bad that you're married because, oh my God, you could be like turning off the recording equipment and giving real happy endings.
Right? I know. Hell, if it helped my career, I'm telling you. No, it's funny though because a while ago, even though I work at a chiropractor and it's a very respectable chiropractor, there's still times somebody will come in, and a lot of the times, like the chiropractors are gone because I work late, so I lock the door. My name is Joy. Like, some people get the wrong idea and they're like, so you're gonna give happy endings here? And I was telling my husband, and he's like, I wouldn't ask you for a happy ending. And I'm like, fuck you. Some guys do. Like, I'm pretty. Fuck you. And he goes, no, I just know how strong your hands are, and I wouldn't want that around my dick. And I'm like, fair enough point. There you go.
My advice to you: if you ever choose to give a happy ending, be very selective and know that your career will go far.
Right?
Right.
See, I don't know. One of my very first jokes I ever wrote is, I'm a massage therapist, but I don't give happy endings because workers' comp doesn't cover tennis elbow. And
that's a good one. Oh.
Only but goodie.
How far do you want to go in your career overall?
I want to go to the moon and back.
Yeah.
I am that person that just, my hands are in everything. Like I said, I have romance books that if I could get those turned into movies, that is like my big, big idea there.
Mm-hmm.
I love my books so much. So if I could get my books into movies, I don't want to do directing or producing. I love writing. Like, writing is my passion. And, if I could just do stand-up. If I didn't have to work at a chiropractor's office and my kids could still be fed and I could just go and fucking play. Because when I do the podcast, it's completely different massage than the one at the chiropractor's. I'm having fun. I get to talk. It's so much lighter for me. I love it. And then writing books, because I used to ghostwrite too. So ghostwriting, I'm writing other people's books. So if I could just write my own stuff, if I could get that on the stage, like anything. And I don't even know. Who knows? Maybe next year I'll even have another dream to add on it. I'm a big girl. I have a big plate, so anything.
Yeah, I would love to do the same thing. I mean, I want to be a horror host. I'm in the early stages of filming a pilot independently with some friends and stuff, and I hope that carries through. And I'd love a movie career. I write movies and stuff. I'm trying to build up my resume with movies so I can get booked for comedy clubs and stuff because I'm just tired of the alternative rooms. I mean, big time. And one thing I've noticed, though, in LA and just about anywhere that you do anything, show business related, is that if you tell anybody, whether it's professionals or amateurs, that you want to be a superstar in whatever field, they don't want to have anything to do with you. And I think it's one of two things. One, I think that they think that you want to take a shortcut to success without doing hard work. And two, it's because they're jealous of your tenacity and they think you'll succeed with determination and it will hinder them from being successful.
Right. But
yeah.
One comic, I don't remember who it was, it said, don't worry, do you, there's enough room for everyone.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me because they do a lot of the open micers, they call me Mama Joy because they'll get on stage and I'm like, oh, you did so good. And, I buy food and I let them eat my food because they're just so I mean, I don't have a lot of money either, but damn it, I want to feed everyone. So, I'm that supportive person. I'll hug you. I'm excited if you get something because I feel like there is room. And who knows, maybe there's room in a different place that I'm going to fit in, that nobody's even been in yet. So, yeah, I get jealous, but it's a proud jealous, like, fuck, I'm really proud that you did that. I just can't wait for my turn. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. I get jealous too, but I'm very supportive and I help people, and I look at talent. I don't look at numbers and stuff. And
I agree.
I'm all about helping the little guy because that's what I am right now and stuff. And I'll tell you, I'm trying to I love horror so much. I'm trying to get into the horror community, and I just noticed when I go to these conventions and festivals, I don't know, they seem more into, into their careers and making money than helping the little guy, even though they put up the front that they're all about helping everybody try to get into the community and stuff. And once I do have, my foot in the door, I am gonna like make it a point to like, denigrate everybody, who wants to, be in the community, to give everyone a shot.
Yes. Now, I don't know if you knew this, but Derek Mears was my very first professional massage when I started working as a chiropractor. Derek Mears he was the last Jason in the Friday the 13th movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And he actually is in North Carolina right now filming a show. I don't know. I know he's announced it on Facebook, so I think I'm allowed to say it. He's Swamp Thing. He is going to be Swamp Thing. It's going to be a series. I'm super fucking proud of him. Him and his wife have become extremely good friends of mine. They live down the street. I go to their house and massage them. I've spent the night at her house because he's in North Carolina, so I spent the night with his wife. And we just watch 80s movies because I guess I haven't seen all of them yet. And she was very upset at some of the ones I haven't seen. Derek Mears is one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met in my life. He is just the most supportive person. He came back to see his wife for Christmas, and I got to see him, and we were hugging each other, and I'm like, I'm so proud of you. And he's like, I'm so proud of you. So there still are some horror people out there that, and he's like, if you need help, Joy, just let me know. I just don't know what to ask for right now. I'm trying to get on a podcast, like network. I just don't, this is all new to me, and I'm just studying it on my own, I think. If anybody wants to take me under their wing, I totally do. So he's just like, whatever you need, ask me, and if I can help you, I will. So, there's still bigger names out there that'll help everyone. There's still good people out there.
Oh, yes, there is. I'm friends with a lot of my guests, like outside of the podcast, and whenever I'm in LA, I spend time with them and stuff, and I'm still pinching myself. I can't believe it, because 30 years ago I'm watching them, as a kid on TV and stuff, and now here I am hanging out with them. It's surreal for me.
It's fun, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's so great, certain people you get kind of disappointed at first because, they're not like they are on screen a lot of the time, but then once you take in who they are and see the depths of their soul, then, you're in like Flint.
Uh-huh.
It's just,
yeah, it's fun.
It's just amazing. Yeah. So what, do you have a favorite joke of all time?
Oh, shit. I have you know what, though? I do.
Mm-hmm.
It was my favorite joke when I was a kid, and it still fucking holds up today. My kids hate it, but goddamn it, I think it's funny. 2 muffins are in the oven. One muffin looks at the other muffin and goes, "Fuck, it's hot in here." The other muffin goes, "Oh my god, a talking muffin!" Worst joke ever. It still fucking makes me laugh.
Oh my god. There's a couple I like. Eddie Murphy had told this joke to a couple 13-year-olds in the front row of Delirious, his special. He said, a bear and a rabbit are taking a shit in the woods. The bear says to the rabbit, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a problem with shit sticking to your fur?" The rabbit says no, so the bear wiped his ass with the rabbit.
They're great. They're timeless. Those are the timeless ones, I'm telling you.
Yeah. I'm sure the rabbit died from the stink. Also, the other one I love, Cinderella is about to go to the ball, and she's on her period, and Fairy Godmother gives her these magic tampons and says, you have to be home by midnight or else they'll turn into a pumpkin. Cinderella's like, okay, Fairy Godmother, I will. So 12:30 rolls around, Fairy Godmother's pacing around the house, and then Cinderella shows up at 4 a.m., and Fairy Godmother's like, where were you? You were supposed to be home at midnight. And Cinderella's like, I'm so sorry, Fairy Godmother. I met this great guy. We danced all night. We drank all night. His name was Peter Peter. I love that joke. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yes. Well, Joy, you are so awesome, and I thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. This was fun, and my gardener was actually pretty quiet, and the dogs and the kids who've been locked out of the room have been pretty quiet. So we pressed our luck, and we won. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, and I'd love to have you back on and talk about 80s movies.
Oh, I'd love it. Yes.
That'd be great. Yes.
Talk about how Ferris Bueller is an asshole.
Yeah. He's a sociopathic asshole, actually.
He is. See, I'd never seen it, and when I watched it, I just watched it, like, honestly, maybe 4 weeks ago, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, this guy's a fucking prick. And Jenny, Derek's wife, was like, I've never seen it through somebody else's eyes because we watched it when we were young.
Yeah.
And she's like, but seeing it through your eyes, he is an asshole. I'm like, oh, I know.
Yeah, well, the fact that he's cute makes up for it.
Yeah, he's too little for me. You're pretty.
That's awesome. Yeah, in April, I'm going to be in LA for a weekend and stuff, and I'm going to come by the Comedy Store.
Oh, please do. Yes, I'll be there.
Yeah, well,
unless they fire me.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to you before then and stuff, and we'll figure out when we can talk again.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. You have yourself a great day.
You as well. I'm actually about to go get ready to go to the Comedy Store and work tonight, so.
All right, have fun.
All right, you have a good day, too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Joy Eileen. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Joy. Oh, my God, you are so awesome. I'm glad that we connected and we got to do this. We got to form a bonding friendship there. I guess you can call it that. And I'm very grateful to you. You're very awesome, Joy, and I know you're going to be super successful, and you got me in your corner. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!